On a cool October evening at Tunis Carthage International Airport, the arrival gates opened to scenes of emotion and defiance. 10 Tunisian activists, part of the Sumud Gaza Flotilla, were stepping back onto home soil after what they described as 72 hours of Israeli persecution. Their return via Istanbul marked the end of a tense chapter that had captured international attention and renewed the debate over the blockade of Gaza. As the passengers emerged, applause and chants filled the arrival hall. Supporters waved Palestinian flags and cheered the men and women who had sailed toward Gaza, knowing they might face arrest. Journalists crowded forward, cameras flashing as the activists made their way through the gates. Among them were Lotfi Hajji, Al Jazeera's veteran Tunisian correspondent, his cameraman Anis Abbasi, and Tunisian actor Mohamed Murad. Hajji and Abbasi had reported on the conflict for years, but this time they had been part of the story. There were tearful reunions. Abbasi embraced his family before joining the others to greet the press. Nearby, Hajji began recounting the ordeal the group had endured. Speaking with visible fatigue yet unwavering conviction, Lotfi Hajji said, "Although we, the participants in the Sumud flotilla, have become an event in ourselves, I reiterate that we must not become one. The real event is Gaza. It is the suffering in Gaza. It is what Palestinians experience on a daily basis. What we endured during 72 hours of Israeli persecution is nothing compared to what the people of Gaza endure." His words framed their journey not as an act of heroism, but as a witness to a deeper humanitarian crisis. Cameraman Anis Abbasi described a tense confrontation at the port in Israel. Anis Abbasi said, Ben-Gvir, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Israeli Minister of Security, came to see us while we were on the dock at the port. He arrived on the right, threatening us and calling us terrorists, but we all responded by chanting, "Free Palestine." At that moment, the treatment changed and they became even harsher. Abbasi's testimony highlighted the political flashpoint their mission had become and how quickly the atmosphere hardened. The Sumud flotilla, whose name means steadfastness in Arabic, had set sail with more than 100 pro-Palestinian activists from around the world. Their stated goal, to draw global attention to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and to challenge Israel's naval blockade. For decades, such attempts to break the blockade have been met with interception by Israeli naval forces. This time was no different. The flotilla never reached Gaza's shores. Instead, its passengers were detained, questioned, and, after 3 days in custody, deported via Turkey. The deportees described the conditions as harsh: cramped quarters, restricted communication, long interrogations. Yet, like Hajji, many insisted their suffering was brief compared to the hardships faced by Gazans under blockade. Back in Tunis, supporters turned the arrival into a moment of solidarity. Chants of "Free Palestine" and applause echoed through the terminal as the activists appeared. For them, the experience had reinforced their resolve. For their supporters, it was a reminder that the plight of Gaza remained urgent and unresolved. Israel maintains that the blockade is necessary to prevent weapons from reaching Hamas and other militant groups in Gaza. Rights organizations, however, argue that the blockade has created an untenable humanitarian crisis, restricting food, medicine, and fuel supplies. Tunisian officials condemn the treatment of their citizens and praise them for their steadfast commitment to humanitarian principles. International observers, including several European parliamentarians, renewed calls for easing restrictions on Gaza. The incident underscored how civil society-led convoys continue to be flashpoints in a conflict that has resisted decades of diplomatic efforts. For Hajji and Abbasi, the journey was more than an assignment. It became, as Hajji put it, a glimpse, just a glimpse, of what ordinary Gazans face every day. Several activists spoke of their determination to continue advocating for humanitarian access to Gaza. Some called on Arab and international governments to do more than issue statements, to push for concrete policy changes that would ease the suffering of civilians. As night fell in Tunis, the returning activists dispersed quietly to their homes and families. Their journey had not achieved its original mission of reaching Gaza, but it had reignited international attention on the enclave's plight. For many Tunisians gathered at the airport, the activists' ordeal was a powerful reminder that the humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to demand global conscience. And for the participants themselves, the voyage of the Sumud Flotilla has become a personal testament to resilience and to the price of bearing witness.
الأسطول يعتبر المشاركون والمنظمون له.
Although we, the participants in the Sumud Flotilla, have become an event in ourselves, I reiterate that we must not become one. The real event is Gaza. It is the suffering in Gaza. It is what Palestinians experience on a daily basis. What we endured during 72 hours of Israeli persecution is nothing compared to what the people of Gaza endure. Ben-Gvir, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Israeli Minister of Security, came to see us while we were on the dock at the port. He arrived on the right, threatening us and calling us terrorists, but we all responded by chanting, "Free Palestine." At that moment, the treatment changed and they became even harsher.
تغيرت المعاملة